Hello and welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast. Today we are doing another episode on niching down and what it's like to specialize and stand out as a yoga teacher. We've been doing this since the beginning of November, which is amazing, and I feel like I could completely cover this alone on the podcast if I wanted to, and that's what niching down is like. Sometimes you can niche down within your niche. Before I get into that, before I get off track, let me introduce myself. I'm your host, Shannon Crow. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And this podcast is being recorded on the traditional territory of the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Mississauga people. I feel like it's really important for me to continue to learn about the culture of the Anishinaabe people who lived here long before my settler ancestors came here generations ago. I'm also a Canadian yoga teacher, a mom of 3, an entrepreneur, and a forever student who loves to ask questions. And that is why I'm really grateful to be able to do that here on the podcast and to also answer questions. We've had some great niche questions come in, and it's really got me thinking about how I can help right now if you're thinking about specializing and niching down. Because I know how tough it can be to leave a yoga teacher training, to be out in the real world, to be planning your classes and driving around or getting to different studios or trying to get set up in a new place. And I'm just really grateful that you're here hanging out so that I can maybe share what I've learned over the years. And especially when it comes to niche work, it's something that I love to talk about. Now, before we get into this, because I have a niche quiz for you today, actually. And before we get into that, I want to thank OfferingTree because they bring this podcast to you, but it's also a software that I use and love for my own business because it automates everything from bookings, payments, Zoom links, reminders, and so much more. And we have a special podcast listener discount code for you over at OfferingTree.com/Shannon. Today's episode is also brought to you by Pelvic Health Professionals. That's the other hat I wear, and I'm very, very passionate about the work that we're doing over at Pelvic Health Professionals. You can check it out over at pelvichealthprofessionals.com, and let me tell you a little bit about it. So it's really a place where movement educators, like yoga teachers, and healthcare professionals, a lot of pelvic health PTs are in there. We collaborate together and learn the most up-to-date information regarding pelvic health. So if you are working with people who have a pelvis, they all have a pelvic floor, it's not just women, trust me, then check out pelvichealthprofessionals.com. And I'll tell you about a really cool yoga series that we have coming up in the new year a little bit later today. So I want to dive right into this quiz that I'd love for you to take. Now, if you're busy and you're on the go, you can get the PDF. That's over at theconnectedyogateacher.com/355. You can download the full PDF. There's 2 parts to this 1-page PDF. Last week on the podcast, we talked about, do I need to specialize? So do I even need to be doing the niche work? This week, we're going to get into some questions that I hope every yoga teacher at some point asks themselves. And I want you to think right now that you're kind of wiping the slate clean here. Just for a moment, imagine that your calendar was blank and nothing would impact the time that you have or the money that you make. And I just want you to answer these questions authentically of what you really would like. And it's a little game of would you rather. So would you rather teach one-on-one? Would you rather teach private yoga or teach group classes? And just for these questions, I want you to choose one or the other. That doesn't mean that you won't teach both. But for right now, just pick one or the other because I want to see what you really want to focus on right now. Another question, would you rather teach morning or afternoon or evening classes? Now, remember, you get to choose. Don't think, well, I've got this evening class at 5:30 and it's just really well attended. I want you to choose what you would do if you were starting from scratch, and everything was going to work out equally. Okay, another question. Would you rather teach children or teens or adults or wise elders? What age would you rather teach? Or is that even a thing? Are you like, all ages, doesn't matter? Would you rather teach men or women or both men and women or gender neutral yoga, where it doesn't matter what gender they are? And there's a lot more depth to this question. And we actually have a really great podcast episode that will get you access to all kinds of podcasts and trainings that were paid trainings. I'll make sure to link to that in the show notes. It was episode 284, and it's called Beyond Pronouns and Pride Month. And I'm telling you, trust me on this, people have taken the trainings that are included in this. You get to take them for free if you listen to this podcast and you go to the show notes. I'll tell you all about it, and I'll tell you the importance of why. This is something that I hope all yoga teachers do, especially if you're looking at making your niche about gender in any way. I wish I would have known this years ago. So this is the information that would have helped me a lot, just in naming classes and thinking about who my ideal student was. Trust me, it's a big part of it. Go have a listen to episode 284. Okay, next question. Would you rather teach on weekdays or weekends? And I want you to, not think about when you think students will get to class. I want you to think about what would you ideally do if you could choose. Next question is, would you rather teach online or in person or both online and in person? And that might be at the same time, or that might be like, well, I'd like to teach some online and some in person. What's ideal for you for that question? Connected yoga teachers, I'm popping in here for a moment between these questions, this quick niche quiz, to tell you about OfferingTree. So yes, they sponsor the podcast, and that's why it's coming to your ears today, right now. But I also want to tell you because I use OfferingTree myself for my own business, because everything is automatic when I use OfferingTree. So for instance, we're doing a yoga series with Tyla. She's teaching 6 weeks of yoga for pelvic cancer through pelvic health professionals. Anyone can sign up. And I know that as soon as I put the information in there, everything will be automatic. The Zoom links, the time zones, reminder emails will go out, texts will go out to remind people. The waivers are all there. I love how I can check who's attending the classes. I'm telling you, this is set up because of the amazing feedback from yoga teachers and studios. It's seriously the best online software that I found for yoga teachers. And it's the most reasonably priced as well. Also, we have a discount code for you. That's over at OfferingTree.com/Shannon. So check that out. There's also a 14-day free trial. So if you're thinking about making a website or how to get people to pay online or book online, definitely check out OfferingTree. And if you're thinking, wait a minute, I want to figure out how to sign up for that 6-week yoga for pelvic cancer, you can head over to pelvichealthprofessionals.com and click on yoga. Okay, let's get back to these questions. Would you rather teach in a studio or from your home or from a healthcare setting or from another location? What would be ideal for you? Would you rather teach drop-in classes or registered sessions, or would you rather people sign up for a membership? Now, we've got some great podcasts on registered sessions, the importance of that, or how to switch to that. I'm a big, huge fan of registered sessions, but that doesn't mean that you have to choose that. We also have great podcasts on memberships as well. So we'll link to those in the show notes. That's over at theconnectedyogateacher.com/355. And if you're like, oh, I can't remember that, just head over to our website with any question you have and use our search bar. That's how I go and find podcasts, because we have almost 7 years of episodes now. And That's the fastest way to find something on our website, is just to use the search engine. Okay. Would you rather teach vigorous or gentle or restorative yoga or something else? What calls to you the most? And I know that you might have different classes that you do teach. Remember, we're just, if you were starting from scratch and money was not an issue at all, what would that look like? Would you like to teach prenatal yoga or baby and me yoga or some other specialty yoga or none of these? Would you rather teach the philosophy of yoga or not teach philosophy or have a nice mix where philosophy is woven in? Last few questions here. Would you rather teach meditation or not teach any meditation? Would you rather teach yoga with animals in the class or without animals in the class? This is one of those where I'm like, no way. No animals in my yoga class. And it is fine when other people want to do that. It's not for me. And that's okay. This is where you define what yoga is a really good fit for you. I feel like I had enough time with like my kids climbing all over me doing yoga, which felt a lot like goat yoga. So I don't want to do that at all. Last question. Would you rather teach to one person or 6 people or 20 people or 40 people or 100 people? Really, what is your ideal class size? If you were getting paid the same, what would you rather do? I hope these questions get you to a place where you can really figure out what is your ideal yoga that you want to teach. All of these questions can help you to define your niche. You might be left with more questions, and that's okay. If you want the PDF of this, that's over at theconnectedyogateacher.com/355. The questions from last week are on there as well as this week. And this is really the distilled version of like hours of workshop training in one page. I wanted to get that to you before the end of 2023. If you're listening in real time, that's when we're putting this podcast out. And if you feel like you're still really stuck on niche work or specializing, you can book a consultation call with me. That's where I look at your business for an hour and really dig into the questions and help you to maybe niche down or look at how you can market your yoga or look at your website. Any challenge that you're facing, I'm happy to dive into with you. To book that, head over to theconnectedyogateacher.com and click on Work with Shannon. Also, like I said, that yoga series with Tyla is coming up. You can join live January 10th to February 14th. It's yoga for pelvic cancer. Anyone can attend it. Yoga teachers, yoga students, whoever would like to attend, healthcare providers. And then if you're listening to this and it's after February the 14th of 2024, not to worry, there's a replay for this series as well. Visit pelvichealthprofessionals.com and click on yoga. Thank you so much to our whole team over here, Suzanne, Crunch, and Sinead. Amazing humans doing amazing work, and I'm so grateful for them because they help make this podcast possible. And do you know who makes it the most possible? It's you, dear listener. You really make this podcast happen. If it wasn't for you listening, it would not be happening. And I'm so, so grateful that we're coming up to almost 7 years of this. If you're like, what? You're just listening to this episode as the first one ever, there are a lot more there for you in the bank. Just find the episodes that call out to you and have a listen. If you've been listening to every episode, I want to hear from you. I also want to leave you with one question today. What will you be doing this week to stay connected to yourself, your yoga practice, and to your community so that you can share the yoga that lights you up?